Welcome to AgencyRise, the podcast where digital marketing agencies rise together. I'm your host, Chris Rudolph. I've spent the last decade coaching digital agency founders, helping them scale, systemize operations, and break free from the day-to-day grind. On this podcast, we'll talk about what really moves the needle for agencies, getting clients, building a team, creating systems, productivity, focus, and freedom. So no hype here, no guru nonsense, just real conversations from the agency trenches. So today, my guest is Akvile DeFazio, president of AKvertise, a award-winning social media advertising agency. Based in the LA area, she helps e-commerce, app, and event brands scale with future-forward strategy across today's most impactful paid social platforms. She's partnered with brands like Postmates, Care Bears, and Dwayne Johnson, and has taken the stage at industry-leading conferences, including the Hero Conference, SMX, and numerous universities. So, Akvile, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris.
Awesome. For those that may not be familiar with you, tell us a little bit more about you and your agency.
Sure. So I launched it 11 years ago, started off with paid search, organic social, and paid social. And about 2 years in, I pivoted and just dove fully into paid social because I found a lot of personal interest there. I found it exciting and I saw a future there. And I thought I could always revert back and offer more services, but thankfully I haven't had to.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, tell us a little bit about your story on how you got started. It doesn't have to be the polished. You can share wins, mistakes, pivots that you've had along the way. Give us a little insight on how you got there. I think it's always interesting to hear that from agency founders.
Yeah, it was far from linear. I was in the medical field before that and just for the wrong reasons. And I pivoted to working in marketing. I fought for an internship, worked in house for a few brands, and then took the leap. But I put it off for a long time and finally came to kind of a crossroads in my career. And I realized that what I was doing wasn't really fulfilling and I didn't have the authority to match the responsibilities I had. So I emailed a friend and I asked if I could shadow her for a day because she had been doing this alone for 10 years, longer than I had at that point. And she said, I'll do you one better. I'll give you half my clients, teach you everything I know. And in return, you'll give me some of my time back because I'm burned out and I want to build a different business. It's not an ad agency.
Wow.
And that was 11 years ago. And yeah,
Wow. The power of asking, and then you never know what's going to happen next.
yeah. And I was so nervous to ask her. And it took me to build up the courage because I'm the type of person that I just don't want to waste people's time and bother them. But it really just came to a point where that was my only option and the only thing that I knew. And I didn't realize that asking what was a small question to her. And she could have just said no and I could have moved on and it would have been fine. But the fact that she opened the door so much more beyond that yes or no response was life changing.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you went from like paid search to paid social, and then tell me a little bit more. Like, how did things evolve to kind of like where they are today? Because I know that space has changed a lot.
Oh, yes, very much so. I was good at paid search, but when paid social started rolling out, Facebook ads at the time, there was something really intriguing about it. I felt like search was a little bit too I think there was just a little bit more character and nuance with social, and I really found it fascinating to target by interests and behaviors and the more creative aspect of designing visual ads. I'm an artist in my spare time for what little, little that I do have, so I feel like that was a more natural fit in the long run. And
Sure.
then it just gradually parted ways with paid search and decided to find partners that if clients did need that, I would recommend somebody that I trust and is seasoned.
Yeah, that's amazing, and love how your interest as an artist, you can better align with what you do on a day-to-day basis. So that's great. What have been, looking back, what has been some of the biggest drivers of the growth of your own agency?
I think mostly networking. I'm mostly an extrovert. I love going to conferences, school events, meeting people, speaking to people online. I really enjoy people. And I think that that's helped me throughout my career in terms of going into conversations, not expecting anything. And over time, it's resulted in jobs, opportunities, collaborations, partnerships. Even some of my closest friends I met online through like marketing Twitter way back when. So I think that has helped my business the most, just making sure that people know I'm here, I can help in what I specialize in, but also that I'm genuine about just wanting to know people and help people.
That I love that. I'm seeing kind of a trend with agency founders lately where they, like They're obviously like on social and on digital all day long. A lot of times we're, like working remotely or from home. Like that actually in-person networking is like something that they really thrive on. It maybe kind of like balances things out with what they do on a day-to-day basis. So I've been seeing that come up a lot
That's a
lately.
good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on the flip side, what have been some of the most painful lessons that you've had to learn the hard way?
Well, I'd say never working at an agency before starting my own, that was a big learning curve. I think I did myself a disservice because earlier in my career and when I was just younger in general, I thought I want to be the person at the company that is in charge of, marketing, advertising. And I had misconceptions about working at agencies since I had friends that worked with them and they didn't have good experiences. So I intentionally didn't apply for them. And I kind of wish I did in hindsight now, just to kind of make it more seamless for me to transition into launching my own agency. Year two, I learned some very, very hard lessons. And I feel like that was a pivotal year for surviving. I lost my two biggest clients in the same week. One got acquired by a larger company and came back the following year, which was great. And, made me reassured that it wasn't a me thing. It was something beyond my control at the time. And then the other one, their CEO resigned. So then they're like, everything's on hold. But it was a devastating financial lesson to learn because it was year two. I didn't have enough in the bank yet to feel comfortable. And it took me, I was in the red for like 8 or 9 months. And I
Wow.
realized the power of diversifying the size of my clients. I've always been a proponent of diversification across platforms, and I didn't really apply my own recommendations in terms of not putting all my eggs in one basket in terms of client diversity.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and I think you bring up a good point as well as far as like the churn that happens due to like acquisition because I know that I've just seen over the years that's happened quite a bit with agencies that I work with.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, like their main point of contact moves on, whether they resign or, a CMO goes somewhere else. And I know that that's like an immediate, it's immediate shock and hit. But it's wild that
Yeah.
you say that sometimes those things come back around, like the companies come back, or the wherever the person goes to next, they reach out to the agency. So sometimes one client becomes two or the opportunity to have two. But yeah, I know that can be really shocking, like in the moment.
Yeah, and, like, I was just a vendor, so they didn't give me a heads up. I don't know if maybe that was just legal or was an oversight, but it was basically like, "Today's your last day," and I was not prepared for that in any capacity.
If you had to start your agency over today from scratch with kind of what you know now, what would you do differently?
I would have contracts earlier on, I would tell you that. I would have also, incorporated a little sooner. I didn't really do anything. I freelanced essentially the first 2 years, but year 2, this big lesson with diversification, getting contracts in order, developing myself into an S corp. That all happened year 2, and I think it was just a big season of change, and I wish that I didn't rely so much on just kind of maybe luck in a way the first 2 years. That would have probably set me up for success and but maybe I wouldn't have learned those hard lessons earlier on. So who
Mm,
knows?
that's interesting. And when it comes to like hiring and leading team members, what's one piece of advice that you'd have to all the founders out there listening?
Give people some exercises during the interview process. Earlier on, I had some people that were excellent on paper, and then in execution, it was just mistake after mistake and trying to educate and, trying to have that feedback loop of, do you understand the task that I'm asking of you? And if you have questions, come back to me. And I unfortunately had to go through a few people where they didn't really pan out because I ended up spending more time trying to fix their mistakes. So I think just getting a better sense of somebody, of how they accomplish a task, how they research, when they come to you to ask for help finally. I think understanding that beyond a resume and initial interview, I think that that would be helpful to really find the right people for your team.
Any tips on how to like find that out, before you hire them?
Um, Giving them some exercises of like, here's some data. Tell me about it. What would you do next? What's good? What's not? What's the next step? How would you present this to a client? I think just giving some real life scenarios of what the job would entail, I think that that would be helpful in understanding their thought process and how they interpret things.
Yeah, I found that too. Like how can you shape like kind of the interview process where they can demonstrate the key like skills or experiences that need to have like in it just getting creative with that. So I
Yeah.
agree there 100%. What trends are you leaning into right?
I'm thinking about a lot of content. Just some of my clients are having I think it comes to creative and trying to get certain clients to do certain things, maybe outside of their comfort zone, but certain trends, I think everyone's talking about AI, but I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of allergic to trends. I'm like, I try them out, and if they don't work, like, I'm more on the quiet, trendy side where I think I have a lot of things that are unpopular opinion, unpopular trends.
Interesting. Yeah. And I know that can be like just especially in today's day and age, like there's a new trend or a new, someone's posting about a new AI tool or something that like, fire your team and just do, use this prompt or like things like that. So yeah, I'm curious. Like it sounds like you really want to evaluate kind of what is out there, and you don't necessarily always take
Yes.
the trending. Yeah, how do you approach like when you hear? I mean, because we hear about those things pop up. Yeah, I'd be curious to just if you could like give us a look inside your thinking of how you really evaluate and with things like
Gosh,
that.
you're actually making me try to evaluate something maybe deeper within my psyche, but I've always kind of been allergic to the conventional path or trends. Like I see them, and for some clients, I share it with them because it's more aligned. But I really like for my clients to stand out and not necessarily follow the trend unless it like really is really dialed in and it doesn't seem like they're trying too hard because not every trend is applicable to every person or every brand. But, I'll look at, like, catchy hooks and see how I can apply them to brands. When it comes to software, I do get intrigued by what people share and what becomes trendy. I'll try it out for myself just to see, like, does it work for me or not? I do evaluate. I don't stereotype and say, like, "Oh, like, that's not for me." Like, I will actually try it, and then I'll make my own decision off of it, whether it's worthwhile or not.
That's good. You're very original. You are not like just going with kind of what the status quo is or what AI kicks out, but like wanting to be unique and stand out and wanting your brands to stand out.
I think I really tried to fit in as a kid. My name's a dead giveaway that, I wasn't born in the US, and I really tried to fit in as a kid, but just felt inauthentic in some ways. So I think, now being an adult, I've really just accepted that and I'm okay with it. I'll try things out, but if it doesn't work, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna run with it.
I love that. I love that. What systems or internal processes have been really valuable as you've grown your agency?
Documenting everything, streamlining processes. I track all of my time to the second. So I spend time evaluating where my time is spent every month to make sure, am I giving this client account enough time? Do I need to charge more or less based on that? Can I become more efficient with my systems and not sacrifice the caliber of work that I'm putting out? I really lean into efficiency. AI has been very helpful in that aspect. Different LLMs for different needs, just because they do put different outputs, and I figured out what is the best for X task for me. So I'm really process oriented when it comes down to that because at this point in my business, I am a one person shop.
Yeah, for sure. What's when you think of like the brand contacts, whether that's the founders or head of growth or marketing, like what's one belief about paid social that most of them get wrong, or they have kind of like a false belief about paid social?
I think for seasoned ones that have, experience with it, they understand there's a lot of nuance to it and it's not just pressing buttons. I think for some other ones that aren't as familiar with platforms or algorithms or how consumers behave in certain channels, there's a lot of education that needs to happen at first and to tell them, like this might work well in theory, but it actually doesn't work well in execution and here's why. And I think that some people have told me in the past, like, oh, like I thought this was so much easier that you just sit on Facebook all day and you're just like pressing some buttons. I'm like, no, there's a lot of, science with data. There's a lot of creative art that goes into it, and there's a lot of psychology. So you have to kind of find the right combination of all those things to accomplish a client's goals and really educate them through that process so that they don't feel like they're being ripped off and that they really understand that aspect of their business, even though they're not in the day to day of it.
So we're going to move into our rapid fire round. So I'm going to fire off a quick question to you, and you can fire back your answers. So, what's one tool or a piece of
Okay.
software that makes you more effective?
Right now it's a toss up between Claude and Gemini.
All right, awesome. And what's one daily habit you swear by? It could be personal or business related.
I wake up before my whole house extra early, and I sometimes just sit on the couch without many lights on and just drink my coffee and enjoy 10 minutes of peace just to kind of set the tone for the day and then dive in.
Wow, that's good. That's good. And what's one book or mentor who has really impacted you?
Well, I'd say my friend Pamela Lund, she's the one that gave me my start working for myself. And a book was Company of One by Paul Jarvis. I feel like that book gave me the permission that I needed to be okay running a one person shop effectively. You know, I haven't scaled the traditional way like most agencies do, but I found other ways to drive revenue to help more brands. And I've gotten the opportunity to work with some really big brands and household names, and I feel like don't have you could be small but mighty.
That's good. I haven't seen that book. I'll have to check that out. That's good. And what's one final piece of advice that you'd give agency founders who are out there listening?
Diversify your business. Find where your audiences are. Don't stick to just one channel. Don't stick to just one thing that's working now because if that one thing falls apart, you have other backups, whether that's client diversification, platform diversification, different revenue streams. Don't bank on one thing.
That's good. That's good. And where's the best place online to learn more about you and your agency?
You can find me at AKvertise.com.
Love it. Love it. Akvile, this has been great. Thanks so much for being on the podcast and sharing your insights and just some gold nuggets and some things that you learned along the way. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris.
And for everyone tuning in from the gym, in your car, or at your desk, thanks for joining us. And if this episode was helpful for you, be sure to subscribe and share it with another agency founder who could benefit from it. Because agencies don't rise alone, they rise together. This is Agency Rise.